Imagine you are standing in a room with two doors. Behind the first is a check for $10 million, tax-free, deposited into your account today. Behind the second is a key to a private library and a seat at a table with the top 0.1% of global architects for 1 year. But you leave with $0 in your pocket. If your heart jumped at the check, you are currently infected with the poor mindset. You are chasing the fruit while the elite are engineering the root. Most people will spend their entire lives working for the paper, never realizing that the paper is just the score, not the game. If you want to stop being a pawn in an economic system designed to keep you sedated, you need to stop looking at your bank balance and start auditing your mental firmware. The poverty trap isn't made of steel, it's made of perspective. Today, we don't just talk about money, we burn down the architecture of the average. The skyline of Oakhaven was a jagged silhouette against a bruised purple dusk. The city lights beginning to pulse like the neurons of a vast, sleeping giant. Inside the penthouse, the atmosphere was sterile and silent, save for the faint hum of high-end climate control. Elias stood by a marble-topped desk, his eyes fixed on a bank statement that felt like a heavy stone in his gut. Despite the 60-hour weeks, the missed social gatherings, and the relentless grind he had been told was the key to success, the numbers were stagnant. He was running a race on a treadmill that was slowly accelerating, and he was beginning to lose his breath. The mentor stood by the window, his back to the room, looking down at the grid below with the detached gaze of a grandmaster surveying a chessboard. "You're doing it again, Elias," the mentor said, his voice a low, gravelly vibration that seemed to come from the floor itself. "You are trying to solve a spiritual and intellectual problem with physical labor. You are looking at those numbers as a reflection of your effort, but they are actually a reflection of your architecture. You have a poor mindset installed in your mind, and you are trying to use it to build a rich life. It's like trying to run the latest neural net software on a machine from 1995. The hardware is exhausted, and the software is simply incapable of processing the opportunity." Elias looked up, his jaw tight with defensive heat. "I am the most responsible person I know. I save, I budget, I sacrifice. I don't buy the luxury watches or the designer clothes. I'm doing exactly what the books say to do. To survive?" The mentor turned slowly, the dim light catching the sharp, predatory lines of a face that had seen 1,000 market cycles. "Survival is exactly what you are getting, Elias. You are playing not to lose, while the elite are playing to win. The poor mindset is a defensive bunker built out of fear. It is obsessed with saving. The rich mindset is an offensive fortress built out of leverage. It is obsessed with investing. One is the act of hoarding a shrinking resource. The other is the act of deploying a growing one. You are currently hiding in your bunker while the world is being divided by those who are brave enough to stand in the field." The mentor walked toward the desk and drew a single sharp line down the center of a notepad. "Look at Ray Dalio," he continued, gesturing toward the imaginary divide. "The man who built Bridgewater Associates didn't get there by hiding his capital or being afraid of the red debt. He built it on a philosophy of radical truth and radical transparency. He realized that the market doesn't reward the safe play. It rewards the play that is grounded in a superior understanding of reality. While you are busy trying to save a few $100s by cutting out your morning coffee, Dalio is busy building systems to automate the capture of global alpha. He wasn't working for money. He was designing a machine that manufactured it. You are the laborer. He is the architect. Consider the concept of opportunity cost," the mentor added, his eyes narrowing. "The poor mindset calculates how much something costs in dollars. The rich mindset calculates how much it costs in time and potential. When you spend 4 hours a night watching television or scrolling through mindless feeds, you aren't just relaxing. You are liquidating your most valuable asset. You are selling your life at a discount." Elon Musk doesn't manage time. He manages energy and output. He views every hour as a unit of mission-critical fuel. If an hour doesn't move the needle toward Mars or sustainable energy, it is a failed investment. You are worried about the price of a book or a seminar, while the elite are worried about the price of ignorance. Ignorance is the most expensive tax you will ever pay. It is a recurring subscription to mediocrity that most people never cancel. The mentor paced, his silhouette cutting through the soft amber glow of the room. "You think of wealth as a destination, A mountain peak, you reach and then stop. But for the architect, wealth is a state of velocity. Look at Sara Blakely. She didn't have a background in fashion or retail. She had $5,000 and a refusal to be paralyzed by cringe capital. She knew that the fear of looking stupid is the invisible wall that keeps the poor in their place. The rich mindset sees failure as data. The poor mindset sees failure as an identity. When you fail, you say, I am a failure. When the architect fails, they say that was a failed experiment. The distinction is the difference between a life of growth and a life of stagnation. You are protecting an ego that isn't even worth the price of the paper it's printed on. Think about Naval Ravikant, the mentor said, stopping by a shelf of leather-bound books. He speaks about the three great levers of the modern age: labor, capital, and products with no marginal cost of replication, like code and media. The poor mindset tries to use labor, which is the weakest lever because it requires your physical presence. It is linear. It scales at 1:1. The rich mindset uses capital and code. While you are sleeping, a line of code or a well-placed investment is working for a billionaire. You are trying to lift a boulder with your bare hands, while the architect is using a 10-foot pole. You aren't being outworked. You are being out-leveraged. You see a high price tag and your brain shuts down and says, I can't afford that. That is the funeral march of your potential. The architect looks at the same price and asks, how can I afford that? One is a period. The other is a question mark that forces the brain into a state of strategic creativity. Furthermore, the mentor continued, his voice dropping an octave, examine the asset versus liability trap. The poor mindset works to buy things they think will make them look rich. They buy the car with the high interest rate, the house with the massive mortgage, the clothes with the loud logos. They are buying handcuffs and calling them jewelry. The rich mindset works to buy assets that produce cash flow. They don't buy the car until the asset pays for the car. They don't buy the luxury until the profit justifies the expense. They understand that every dollar is a soldier. If you send your soldiers to buy a liability, they die in battle. If you send them to buy an asset, they capture more soldiers and bring them home. You are currently presiding over a massacre of your own capital. The final piece of the Roth, the mentor said, turning back to the window, is the scarcity loop. The poor mindset believes the world is a finite pie. They think that for them to win, someone else has to lose. This leads to envy, bitterness, and a total lack of collaboration. The rich mindset knows the world is an infinite, expanding frontier. They don't want a piece of your pie. They want to build a bigger oven. Look at Grant Cardone or Gary Vaynerchuk. They are obsessed with the 10x rule and crushing it. They aren't looking for a fair share. They are looking to create so much value that the market has no choice but to flood them with capital. They understand that wealth is a byproduct of the problems you solve, not the hours you clock. They don't compete. They create. Competition is for those who cannot innovate. You have been taught to fear the red on the balance sheet, but the elite know that the red is often the seed of the green. Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett didn't become icons by being reckless, but by being calculated. They have the iron stomach required to hold when the world is panicking. The poor mindset panics and sells at the bottom because their nervous system is wired for survival, not strategy. To move into the top 1%, you must decouple your emotions from your equity. You must stop reacting to the storm and start building the ship. The architect doesn't hope for a calm sea. He builds a vessel that thrives in the hurricane. Elias stood up, his hand steady as he reached for the pen. He didn't just cross out saving, he tore the page from the notebook. He realized that the safety he had been clinging to was actually a cage. I've been a consumer of my own life, Elias admitted, looking at the mentor. I've been waiting for someone to give me a map. The mentor smiled, a sharp, cold glint of approval. There is no map, Elias. Only a compass. And that compass must always point toward leverage. If you win the battle in your mind tonight, the battle in the market tomorrow is already over. The market doesn't have a heart. It only has a ledger. And starting tomorrow, you are the one holding the pen. The internal audit you have just witnessed is the dividing line between those who remain perpetual consumers and those who become the primary architects of their own wealth. Understanding the difference between a rich mindset and a poor one is not merely a financial lesson. It is a declaration of war against the mental scarcity that has kept you playing small. If you have recognized the poverty trap in your own thinking today, know that the path forward requires a relentless commitment to your own evolution. The world is filled with people who wait for permission to be successful, but in this circle, we recognize that permission is never given. It is taken through the strategic application of leverage and the refusal to trade your life's minutes for a fixed, linear existence. If you are ready to continue this metamorphosis and master the remaining blueprints of the global elite, then you belong here. This is Mindset Reboot, and we are dedicated to the total overhaul of your mental operating system. Join the Architect's Circle by subscribing and ensuring your notifications are primed for our next deep dive, where we will uncover why the world's most powerful minds prioritize intellectual capital above all else. Success is a choice of perspective, and your next level begins with the very next video. The architect is awake, the ledger is open, and the foundation of your new reality is being laid. It is time to build.